All right, I work for Tarlogic. For the last 2 years, I've been a pen tester. Just in case you don't notice it, I'm from Galicia, from the north of Spain. All right, so this research was about researching OTT technologies, over-the-top technologies. So we want to we wanted to research the content that is distributed by companies. We want to distribute it freely. Okay, we didn't get any money out of that, no economic benefit. And by modifying or building the elements that are used by these companies. So first of all, disclaimer, we didn't attack any application, we didn't steal any data from any client, and then for each of the applications we used a username that had a premium subscription, and then with that we also could see what we could do and we couldn't do. And also another disclaimer, we didn't kill any animals, and more specifically we didn't kill any pussycats. All right, what is an OTT infrastructure? So these are infrastructures that allow us to distribute multimedia content, whether it is audio and video, on the internet to the subscribed clients. It is divided in two groups: video on demand, for instance Spotify or Netflix, where you can watch your series and movies when you want. You just go to the website and then you select the series and that's it. And then another platforms that do live streaming. So they use CDN networks for that. I tell you about the problems, and they protect the content by using DRM. How it works. So there are four basic components. We have the player or the client, then we have the web with the users, then we have DRM servers to reproduce content and licenses, and then the CDN with the content. So a user goes to the website, inserts the username and password, and then they say, I want to watch this chapter. Then the web gives back an HTML file and all the parameters that the player needs to play the video, whether it is the manifest, the URL of DMR, that is to say the ID of the product, etc. Then the player requests the CDN, the necessary information to start playing in the video, and then when the video is played, if it is protected through DRM, it does a request to the server. It gives the license, the RM license, if the user is a valid one, and then the video is played. So this is the structure. Okay, I need some water.
Entonces, ¿cómo funciona la transmisión de vídeo?
Okay, what about video streaming? How does it work? So, for this streaming, and HTTP dynamic streaming is used that allows you to stream multimedia content through HTTP protocols. Then a de facto standard is used. The name of it is F4V. This is defined by Adobe. And where a manifest file is defined, which is a file that defines the fragments of the videos that can be played, as well as the audio associated to those videos. So when a client wants to play a video, does a request to this manifest, then that loads a file, which is often an XML, and then often you get the URL of the video both in English and Spanish, and then the audio both in English and Spanish, and then different rates. And as you can see here, HTTP dynamic streaming is adaptive. So this means that the clients, based on the speed of your line, you may use one bitrate or another to download the video or to pause it or whatever, and to have a higher or lower quality of reproduction. So in my application, I took the I wanted to use with the most relevant technologies, Nubiox, Wacky, Total Channel, Orange TV, and Netflix. Well, Orange TV is a bit of an exception. Orange TV is the start of everything. So a year ago, we were sent a project to do a play or to reproduce channels on the streaming by using these technologies. So we had to audit all the application, both the web application, the infrastructure, etc. And then as we were doing the auditing, we saw that the requests that were sent to the CDN were not authenticated at all. So we could obtain the fragments of the video with no session cookies. But even if we recovered all the fragments that many fragments, we couldn't bring them together, we couldn't unite them, and we couldn't play them either. So we thought that perhaps they were protected by that technology, and yes, it was true, they were protected by that technology. And then we could see that some requests had a hash identifying the client. So they were somehow authenticated against the client. And then the hash was created with an Nginx module that used the IP of the client to generate the hash. And we said, yes, it is okay. We may have multiple clients in a network using the same IP. This is obvious. But we wanted to distribute that to other public IPs, to other clients in a different geographical area. We wanted to distribute this content to clients in a different geographical area. Then we started to research, and they say, oh, the token and the hash of DRM are generated and based on IP. What happens with the X forwarded for? Well, it will generate a hash for what we want, and this is what happened. We could play it in the playing environment that we got from the lab, so we could play our video, and this is what we could do. And then we said, okay, let us play a game. What happens with if the rest of the people also have some problem? Let us analyze whether you could, well, make any fraud, okay, with this type of platform. Okay, Nubiox. This is a Spanish one. Let us promote it. So you may think that we are doing things badly here because we are paid peanuts, but actually these people do things quite well. What were the barriers or the hindrances of Nubiox? Well, there is a limit as to the number of devices that you can use if you if you subscribe to the basic package, that is 4 or 5, I think, tablet, TV, mobile phone, etc. The cross-domain XML is quite well configured, doesn't have an asterisk as many other of the companies have, and because we had those problems, the number of players was limited. We couldn't give a player to each of the users because the ID of the player was authenticated against the cloud of Nubiox, and then if you exceeded the number of identifiers, it said no, it didn't let you do it. So we compiled a player based on Flash. We started to use tools, and then we could see that the hash was generated in the client. We tried to generate hashes that could also be valid and registered in the application, but the problem was that the hashes were being crashed, okay? And then we said, okay, what happens if we use the same hash? We know that this hash works, okay, let us try to use it in other clients. And yes, we included the hash in the code, we compiled the player, and then it worked perfectly right. The problem that we had was the cross-domain, because we could only access from nubiox.com. And then says, well, because it is in the player, okay, we modify the identifier and let us modify the cross domain as well. We will just include an asterisk. But cross domain, you can bypass it if you do a player in Adobe A, because the cross domain requests are only done if you are in the browser. But because the prior work, we have a player that works in the browser and say, okay, let us use it instead of start creating a full player, and requiring lots of people. So, and it worked. So here I wrote down the authentication of the client. You can do it with both the password and with a hash. With the hash password and with the password. So this is the trace of the feeder that I used to debug this traffic. I don't know whether you can read it or not. The first one is the request to FM4, that is the manifest file that I mentioned before, then another request for another manifest, depending on what you may define the legacy in the manifest. If you have different content, then it starts to download through petitions to DRM. Then DRM downloaded some video because it is protected. It requests that to the license service and continues to download. Okay, it is a bit hard work, but we managed to get through it. Then wacky.tv. So we also analyzed the player-based a flash-based player. We analyzed it, we analyzed the traffic that it generated, and it seems that it looks similar to the Orange TV. That is to say, a hash was included in nearly all the requests. You also had to ask for a token, then to do your request to the DRM. And I said, well, let us see what happens. Yes, the DRM was IP-based. And I say, oh, it doesn't work with X forward 4. I took all the headers that I knew, client IP, and through client IP, and I say, okay, let us introduce them all and see if it works. And it worked. And I say, well, let us start to combine them and see which one works. X forward 4 and through client IP, the frontal of wacky.tv accepts what you tell it to do. So you may have a server, then a client in a different place, and then you go and say, this generates a hash, a token of DRM, then it does that, then you send it out to the client does the request to the DRM, and no problem, the video is downloaded. The first request of the manifest and the cross domain, but you can see this is a different host, and then another request for another manifest, and starts to download the video, and because it is protected by DRM, it does the request to DRM. And I said, no, this cannot be true. Yes, we did testing, and we could see that this is the way it went. We had a server outside Spain, we had clients in Galicia, different places in Spain. They used to connect to our server where we had the proof of concept, and everything worked perfectly right. And I said, well, what can we do now? So, Total Channel. Also Spanish product. It is programmed in Silverlight. It is a Microsoft player, the same as Orange TV. Oh, it didn't use it. It used a smooth streaming. This is an API from Microsoft that allows you to reproduce multimedia content. And because an API that Microsoft gives you, it has examples on the internet, in code project, etc. I didn't mention that before because I was rushing. But for Orange, we had to create our own player. So it is not as easy as to take the players out there and then to start making fraud. So we took code project, the MS, and then we started to do the request for posting, reproducing content. Because it is a smooth streaming, we could use the API, and we did a player. We customized the player. It works quite similar to Orange TV. And then the way they did the request was very similar to Orange TV. And I said, okay, let us start with like that. Let us include the players, the URL of the manifest, the URL for the player, the token to ask for the DRM, and see if it works. We load it to our server outside in Spain, downloaded the video, request manifest, download some video. Then there is a hash that is IP based. Then it does a request to another server, which is there highlighted in yellow, which is the licensing one, and then continues to download the video. So here we didn't really need any header, X-forward for header. You just got a client here in Spain, it connected to our server through the proof of concept, and they say, okay, this guy wants to watch a video. And we said to Total Channel, we want to watch a video. And then it gave us all the parameters that we needed. We sent them to our video, and our client could play the video with no problem whatsoever. And we said, well, this is not possible. Sure, it is more difficult than that. And then Roman challenged us a bit, and I said, let us see if you can break Netflix. And we started to work with Netflix. Netflix has lots of money, it's a huge investment, has a player in Netflix. They implement their own protocols. They refer to them as NCCP. They do a signature, they encrypt all the exchange messages, DRM, client authorization, then they sign them with HMAC. And then they obfuscate the player so that it is difficult for the auditor to see what they are doing. Today we haven't done anything yet because, well, we didn't have the time for it. It is the only one of the 4 ones that I showed you where the player is obfuscated, where they implement some measures that are difficult to bypass. The beginning, well, to go a bit fast, so we could see how all the requests were done. We could see that it sends the web server to the client so that the client plays the video with HTML, with lots of variables. We did inserted that in HTML, but you always get a generic problem. You go to the Netflix website and then you check, they say, no, you cannot play the video, you delete all the cookies in the browser, try another browser, but no, it was not that, okay? And this is not what we wanted to do. So they are very likely to have an ad hoc player for the web engine or the web browser. Perhaps they are using cookies for that. We are still researching on that. We also realized that the Silverlight file or Silverlight player is a zip that has been renamed as such. If you unzip it, you can see DLLs, all the DLLs inside. Those DLLs are not digitally signed, but they may use some kind of .NET signature. So we analyze whether those DLLs could be tampered, so that when the video is downloaded and when we decrypt it, so that we can save the video locally and play it later on. And now see if we can do it with this one. Sorry, Roman, we didn't have the resources, we didn't have the time to do it, and I cannot show it to you. So you remember this architecture? We had the client, he's got web, then DRM, CDN, and then the video is exchanged through the CDN. So we thought about platform in the middle because we're talking about the time about mine in the middle, platform in the middle. That is the name that we gave to our platform. So instead of having the client connected himself to the Nubeox cloud, we want the client to connect to our video club. We will deliver whatever he needs, and he will consume whatever he wants for free. So as I say, we didn't do it for profit, okay? This is just proof of concept. Now, demo time.
Nubeox, vale. Esta es nuestra aplicación web. Bueno, después hay que tachar el servidor, la URL, por favor, porque si no me van a petar todo aquí.
So,
No me fío de vosotros.
I don't trust you, hackers.
Entonces, bueno, aquí está es... Espera, no sé si se puede darle para atrás un poco.
Okay, let us see if I can go back.
Lo que veíais antes es el videoclub que hemos montado.
So, well, what I showed you before is our video club, including the 4 companies. Then once the user goes to one of them, so we didn't do any scrapping whatsoever. This was just for the proof of concept. For that, we downloaded from the HTML the IDs of the channels, the IDs of the product. We downloaded the images, we just inserted it in our server, and then we made it look as nice as this, okay?
Entonces, nada, en este momento el servidor lo que ha hecho es se ha conectado.
So the server connected to the Nubeox server, it authenticated itself with the valid credentials, and the user in Fox said to the user in Nubeox, I want to watch Fox channel. It sent out the ID of Nubeox for this channel, and then the Nubeox server delivers the variables that it needs with a token to download the DRM and, well, any necessary URLs. And then we take our player, which is theirs, but has been slightly modified. We include it in HTML page, and we deliver it to our user. Then at the time the DRM license was being obtained, the server is outside Spain. We asked the Nuveo servers by using the details of the user here in Spain. We didn't need any IP. It starts to download the video. It checks that the DRM license is valid. It is doing buffer in the video. And here we should get the image of the series. Then you can play the series. And as you can see below, they have the number of the name of the channel, and here you can see all the channels. You don't have to go back, and this very same license allows you to move from one channel to another. Okay, Back to the Future. Next demo, Wacky TV and Netflix. Well, Orange TV doesn't show because, well, this is not applicable to Orange TV. Next one, Wacky TV. I told you before that we had video on demand and channel streaming. So Wacky TV, they do video on demand. They have a catalog and series and movies. You pay a subscription per month. Then they give you access to some seasons of some series and to some movies. We only have one chapter of a series. We didn't want to have them all. And for our testing, one chapter was enough. So we just played a Castle chapter. Wacky TV did did a protection based on IP. The user takes his IP, client IP, it's public IP, and then it says this person wants to watch a series, and then that generates all the tokens and all the URLs that this client needs. Video is downloaded, DRM is downloaded, and then the video is played. Okay. Okay, I'm doing very well with time. Total channel. Channel streaming. More or less the same channels as Nubeox and also football channels, just in case you're interested. Well, this player is a bit not as good quality as the other one. This one I did it myself and it is not as nice, okay? So pause and stop volume up, volume down. Well, actually, this is as much as we need, okay? So not lots of information here, but we requested the service of total channel. This person, without saying the IP, wants to watch a channel, then the token is given to ask for the URL that it needs, for the manifests, for the DRM manifests, and then the player asks for that, and then we watch another channel, okay? So now we go to history channel, and there you go. It also works. It worked for all of them, for all the channel. Conclusions. I say that I was going too fast. Well, don't say again that we people from Galicia are slow speakers. Now, what do you think we should do? I am a member of a red team, so this is a bit too big for me. But what do I think we should do to fix these problems? When we analyze the players, we could see that some companies delegate too much logic on the client, to the client, because you say, okay, you're doing a player in Flash and in Silverlight, the user doesn't have a problem because he doesn't see anything in the HTML, but after time you decompile the players, and in the case of Flash, perhaps decompilers out there do not give you the valid code in Flash, so therefore you cannot play around with them. But if you want to reuse them, there is a project which is RDCASM, which is a decompiler for ABC code, which is the compiler of Flash. You can deload the player down to the ABC code, you do the changes, the modification, then you update the player, and then it works. And for Silverlight, they are decompiler like iSpy, etc. You take the player, and then you start to see that there is too much logic delegated to the client. So we believe that less logic should be delegated to the clients. Do not trust the proxy headers. The other day I discussed that with a friend, and I said, well, if you accept proxy headers, you're telling that this client is another IP, and that's it. And he said, yes, but there is a problem because sometimes, the forward for header, you can find out about the original IP of the client. And I said, well, I will wait up until I go to the rooted, see what they have to tell me. You shouldn't trust these headers, okay? And if you trust this header, you should do a whitelist, if you can do it, of all the IPs that are requested. I don't know how to do it, okay? I don't know enough, but any mitigation measures should be implemented, because I cannot really get a forward header and say, this is my client generated token for 2 or 3 clients, and then the clients do request.
Somebody commented, Andres commented last week that what it makes no sense at all is that a client or a same user with the very same credential is asking for requests. We are not seeing day long all these things. We should control all these things repeatedly. If there are a user making a request for many channels, we cannot allow a user to constantly change things. We should not allow users to obfuscate the source code. This is really breaking my nose. Raul Siles told me before, when you download a player and you see AA class methods A and you put it in within a code, I don't know if you're invoking a class or a method. Shit. We have to obfuscate source code. Is a very shitty thing. We cannot reuse it. So as a protection measure, we should obfuscate the player's code. Thank you everybody for having attended to my presentation, especially RootedConf for this wonderful theme. Especially, I want to thank TarLogic for their wonderful push and support to coming here. I'm a shy young guy, so thank you for push me the limits. Thank you, TarLogic. You can contact me on this Twitter on my TarLogic email. Thank you very much. Should you have any questions, please raise your hands. Suggestions are very welcome as well. There's a question over here. Over here, you have checked this with zombie or zombie. It's on the list. No worries. Next tax. Zombie. Next, of course, I don't want to present all this stuff this year. Next version, zombie, will be presented next year. Romans told me 2 weeks ago, do this before. Analyze clips. Analyze flicks because it may be well. I took it as a personal challenge. I was breathing out. I didn't sleep well. So let's take things easier and let's focus on one thing. It didn't turn out successfully this time, so next year I'll give it a try as well. So Yombi version release 2 next season. My colleagues, don't you have any questions for me? I got a question for you. You're gonna run away here or get away here free. You can push, give the service to somebody. You can apply the CNA to ricochet in open. Oh, here we go. A very wonderful question. We can analyze it. It's feasible. I never give a thought of it. You were quite sure. CDN regarding these problems. When we were doing this job, CDN are like devil, the demon. They are for what they for. They distribute multimedia content. This is the very same problem with Payload, with Facebook. They take your URL, so the nature of CDN doesn't allow you to have user control. You got everything over there. This is it. You can check it. Next Congress. Any more questions, please? One over here. Hello, Adrian. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. Where are you? I'm over here, upstairs. I got a question for you. You said that Netflix use Silverlight client. As far as I know, it only uses it on Firefox because on Internet Explorer, Chrome, they use HTML5. On my analysis, I connected the Netflix web. It doesn't work on Spain, so I went to a different country, and I can see series with Chrome and Internet Explorer. I coded HTML code, and I saw source Netflix.ap, and I got the traces, and you can download it. It's chill like. The client I downloaded is from them. Is dated back to 2 weeks ago. I told you because from UK, from Linux, they don't have Silverlight from Linux, and HTML5 launch it. I would like to research it over there because I will go this way because it could be a good way to force them into distributing content in a free way.